Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking of Austrian and a question that arises after playing a lot of them. Are they good in attack or essentially they are a very good defensive army? My first reply to this question is, in my opinion, Austrian are a very good defensive army. And now I want to show you and explain my position. If we talk to attack with the Austrian, they essentially have the same possibility than English and French, but with one exception, that is a very good offensive weapon at their disposal. But the amount of possibility when they are defending a position or defending a place on the table make them, in my opinion, far much better in defense rather than in attack. And now I want to show you my point one by one. Starting with the list, the Austrian, as for the French, have lots of option when you make your list, especially among infantry and even among cavalry. Okay, and they have a couple of really interesting option. Is the Landwehr, which offer a platoon of infantry with the mass rules. I come back to this in a second, that make them, but for a very cheap amount of points, 11 points for a unit of Landwehr, and the Grenzen and Jäger, which are amongst the best light infantry in the game. They lost mass, okay, but they have light infantry, square, etc. And these are, with the Grenadier 2, the best option for the infantry if you have to attack or even if you have to defend. And there are some rules that are strong in attack but especially are in defense, such as battery, battalion guns, but above all, mass. If I have to think the Austrian as attacker, I cannot see anything special such as Hilan for the French that make them better than other nations to attack. But they have one rule that allow them to still push their attack even in the presence of enemy cavalry. And this rule, which is in my opinion one of the best rule of the game, and which make the Austrian able to attack even against the presence of cavalry, so even against a terror for the infantry, is the mass formation. Mass formation try to represent one of the tactics adopted to the Austrian, which is to mass their infantry in battalions, tight company, make a tight formation with no real front or side that protect them from cavalry. As such, like this, I replicate in this way the mass formation. And the rules state that when one infantry unit is in mass formation, is counted as a square, but compared to a regular square, they can still move, so if they can still assault. So it's a mix among us, an assault column and a square. They get the protection of a square and the mobility of a column of assault. When they take the mass formation, cavalry that want to charge them have to roll as they are square, and they get a +2. So they essentially make through the charge on a 4+, but is a great option compared to stay in line or stuck in a square which move 3 inches and cannot charge, because mass formation can move 9 inches and complete a square. So if you move it into assault the enemy line, the difference between an attack column and a mass formation is 3 inches of movement. An attack column move 12 inches, and you also have a +1 in melee, +1 die in melee and lost obviously firepower, but you lost this firepower in any case if you are in assault column. And the square may stack your assault, so some cavalry can block you. In mass formation you have the possibility to push on your assault, and at this point it really depends how many units you commit to the assault, how many mass units you can push together your line and move your line forward and make cavalry hard to charge you. Because you can take mass formation with a single battalion, but you can also have mass on a large battalion or in the landverse. You can form a large line of mass infantry which make it harder for cavalry to attack you, to stack you in a spot, block you, and make prone to the artillery or to the fire, to the counter assault, such as a regular square. And that's a very powerful ruse if you have to attack. But keep in mind, it's also powerful if you are defending, because you can take one place in mass formation in front of cavalry, which allow you to counter attack. Let me show you what I mean, oversimplify the situation, okay? It is oversimplified, but it's just to show you what I mean. We have a couple of battalions in mass, they're moving together, they are not in line or column of assault. You have enemy cavalry in range to assault you, and now is all on the decision of the cavalry player, because he can avoid to try to charge a similar square, and even if he try to assault, let me say, he charge here. Now he have 50%, 50-50 possibility to continue the assault or are pushed back. If they assault, you still have, with a regular infantry, 5 dice against 4, so it's a matter of decision, it's a matter of dice. But at the worst case, the cavalry win and they are broken, or better, they are stuck into melee. If it's not make a cavalry retreat for any reason, you can assault with your other infantry on a flank, on a front if they are gone. Anyway, you have possibility to counter-strike the enemy, which is not allowed if you are in regular square. Is situational, this case is oversimplified, there are many factors in it, but this formation is a very, very powerful one and is a plus for the Austrian troops. So coming to see the reason and the many tools that Austrians have when they are deployed to defend rather than moving into the attack. The first rule that makes them good at defense, in my opinion, is the large battalion. As an option for the Austrian, representing, especially in the first period, the large battalion deployed by the Austrian and the number of men in a single battalion. For 5 points, you double the number of the models in the unit and get +1 in tenacity and attack. When you deploy in line, I use it to deploy in a 2 line rather than overstretched line of infantry. They also get concentrated fire, which represent the large firepower of the unit. You can reroll 1 miss during the shooting phase. You can also, at this point, promote them as elite for fire, melee and tenacity, so you can have a single battalion of line infantry with the statistic of the Imperial Guard, or the Old Guard for the French, or the Guard for the British, and cost very cheap point compared to them. For 28 points, so 2 points less than a battalion of grenadier, you have the same stats of a grenadier. This rule is also available for the Landwehr. Landwehr is essentially the militia, and for the unit from 1809 onwards that are present in the Austrian army, they lack many of the possibility, because the Landwehr essentially is a rule of militia, so they cannot reform in the same turn that they move, but they have a disposal mass, and they can be a large battalion. So if you have to hold a line, regular Landwehr have a 3 of melee and 3 of tenacity. Okay, so imagine now that for 5 points more in your list, so for and this for 11 points, so for 16 points you have a large battalion of Landwehr, so it costs less than a regular line infantry, and you have the same stats. So it costs it's very cost point efficient when you have to hold one spot on the field, protect some objective for some times and waiting for reserves, or you want to put some militia in front to absorb the fire and the initial assault of the enemy, and then your reserves are on the back. So Landwehr is a good defensive tool, is also good in attack, but is nothing special that in particular grant a bonus on your attack, but is a bonus in defense. And they are allowed to take the mass formation, so is a large unit for few points that can hold cavalry at bay for some times. Another rule that Austrian share with the French is battery for artillery. Battery allow to reroll the one when they shoot and they did not move, and they have they can land support with up to 5 guns. Again, it's can usable in assault, but when you have to attack, too soon, your line of sight will be obstructed by your troops, or restricted by to a single corridor. Maybe you cannot use your artillery at best, but if you have to stay put, you can maximize the effect of a battery of large gun to the incoming enemy. So using this and combined with some infantry battalion to protect them from cavalry or counter-attack by the enemy, allow you to use them at best. This is one of my favorite unit for the Austrian is an avant-garde brigade made essentially by Grenzen, light cavalry, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes Jaeger. Is made by light infantry, so they have lots of mobility through terrain. They have a good firepower because they are all light infantry, so not only they can move in open order to reduce the casualties, but they have a rate of fire of 4, both for the Grenzen and for the Jaeger, and they can be accompanied by the horse-drawn artillery for add firepower, and they have the cavalry to protect them from enemy counterattack, protect their flank, treat an enemy infantry that come closer, and use at best their fire support. And in attack, they also have cavalry to attack and supported by fire. But again, they are good in attack, but they are also especially good in defense. Due to the sheer firepower of this unit, the presence of cavalry that is a threat for any enemy that come closer, the artillery, and one unit unique for the Grenzen, which is battalion gun, is like the 2-pounder cannon that you can represent with a model attached to the battalion, or even to do not use and declare that you have to pay for them. This allow you a special unit for the Grenzen. The first unit is they can, if have no enemy within 12 inches of them, to use the battalion to take a shooter at longer distance. It's odd that you will hit something because they hit on with a -2, so it always, almost always on a 6+. But the good of this rule is not the single shot that you can take on a far enemy, which is good but not essential, but is the possibility to use it in melee. In attack and in defense, if they have a battalion gun on a 5+, they add 1 dice to their melee ratio, representing the discharge of some canister at short range, a small canister at short range, into the charging enemy. So it's a good formation, in my opinion, to protect a flank or to attack on a flank. But again, I prefer to... No, prefer is not the right word. If I have to defend, I want them on a flank, while my center will be protected by large infantry formation and cannon. For the reserves and the counter-attack unit, Austrian have at disposal the grenadier. Usually they were packed in reserves, so it's perfect. The name call their role to reserve and counter-strike. They are good in assault if you want, again, but nothing special. If they have to counter-strike an enemy, let your grenadier and reserve and call them where they are needed. And for the cavalry, they have the same option, especially the cuirassiers and the dragoons are good in as a counter-strike unit, while light cavalry make the role of the light cavalry in any other army. This is the reason why I find stronger defense rather than an attack, because if they have to attack, they have all the tools to make an attack, but nothing special. In defense, they are a strong, hard nut to crack for the French and their allies. And as speaking about tactics, really depend on the mission, but in mission when they have to take objective and then defend it is the key for me to win for the Austrian. Take the objective as soon as possible and then set in defense. It's like British, but with some benefits. If in a mobile battle, when they needed to take objective to win, move fast, take a defensive stance and await for the enemy. And in other battalion, when they have to defend a village, a spot, or something like this, they are really strong. And the only threat is to not accumulate too many defeats, because stay put expose you to the enemy fire, enemy attack. So keep in mind to have your commander around. If you play with traits, maximize the effect of rerolling or adding bonus for the Valor test and Fortitude test. If you're not, you have to hope to do not fail too many Fortitude tests, and then you have a really strong set for defending an objective. And that's it for this video about the Austrian and their ability. Again, it's my opinion that they are best at defense rather than an attack. Any comments and any opinion are welcome. If you like this video, press the button, and if you are not subscribed yet, please subscribe. It really helps. Thank you for watching, happy wargaming, and see you as soon as possible.